I'm Craig. I first got married end of 1999. My wife was single mum of 3 boys. Throughout our marriage we were to have another 2 boys of our own. In 2007 I got very sick. I was working part-time on a farm and I had my own cleaning business, and I collapsed on the farm. I was hospitalised for 2 months. I was later on diagnosed with viral encephalitis, which is a generic term really for a flu virus that attacks the nervous system. It paralysed me on the right side, where I had severe weakness in my limbs. I had to relearn to talk, had to relearn to walk and shower and dress myself, get out of a chair, do things that we take for granted. When I come out of hospital, a real nasty streak just rose up in my ex. It was no longer hot-headedness, it was plain nasty. To give an example, she said a real man wouldn't be begging his wife for money, he'd be out earning his own instead of being a lazy prick, laying flat on his back for 2 months doing nothing. To be called a lazy prick was pretty cutting to the bone for someone who'd worked since he was 16. I was also supposed to have had a shower chair because I couldn't stand up for very long. I'd lost mobility in my legs, and she'd said no, not getting a shower chair. So to have a shower I'd have to sit on the floor. Over a period of time this escalated. I was denied finances, I was punched a few times, verbally abused about not being a real man. I was spat on, and there were times where she'd stand in the kitchen sharpening knives saying, one of these days I'm going to stab you. Also over that time I was constantly being told that there was nothing wrong with me. I might have had the doctors convinced that I'd been sick, but she knew better. She'd said, get off your backside and go to work. Being told you're not a real man because you're not out to work, that plays havoc with your identity big time. There was an online writing competition, and I won a position to write a chapter on this book. We were going through a private internet provider at the time, and my emails were through that. And she comes in and said, you don't deserve to write a chapter in any book. I've disconnected the internet. And then she attacked me, ripping my t-shirt off me and tore it to bits. She'd bitten me on the wrist to the bone. In the struggle I was able to push her away from me, and she fell on the ground and she whacked her head on the couch. In all our years of marriage I'd never laid a hand on my wife. And she rang up the police. When the police come and they interviewed me and her, and I'd told my side of the story, they said, is that right? She said, yes, but he's mentally ill, arrest him. In fact, they actually said, well, no, sorry, we have to arrest you. In hindsight, I did the wrong thing. I should have allowed the police to arrest my wife, but I said, no, I didn't want to press charges. And they suggested that I move out of the house. So for about 3 months I lived in the back of my van, and eventually ran into my brother and he said, come and move in with us. I rang up the Department of Community Services, New South Wales domestic hotline, and to be told on the phone that, sorry, only men abuse women. Women don't abuse men, and they weren't going to help me. I contacted the Australian Human Rights Commission, and they said, sorry, we can't help you, our charter's only for women and children. Where do you go? There's nowhere men can go. All the brochures in community centres, even the New South Wales Police website said that women, children and others are victims of abuse. I asked a local community worker, who are the others? And she replied that that's for family pets and farm animals that men abuse. In 2014, that's the worldview of a community worker. In her worldview, there was no scope, no room that men could be abused by women. I'd go to a community centre and try and tell my story, and they'd say, "No, sorry, we can't help you." You know, as a man facing abuse by a female, that empowered my ex-wife to be more abusive, because she'd laugh and say, "No one's going to believe you." I told the school what had happened at home, and they contacted Docs, and through Docs, Burnside got in contact with me and my ex. I had to go down for an interview, and the lady there said, "Craig, you don't fit into our criteria, but you're a real mess. I want to see you twice a week for counselling." She left after about 3 months to go elsewhere, and the lady who replaced her said, "Craig, you don't fit into our programs. To stay with us, you have to go and do an anger management course." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because men need help with their anger." And I said, "I was spat on, I was punched in the head, I was verbally abused, I was bitten, I was threatened to be stabbed, I was denied money, and I have to go and do an anger management course." You know how frustrating that is? Anyway, I didn't do that course, and so they cut me out of their services and said they could no longer help me. And I've heard so many cases where that's turned around and bitten guys on the bum. Because when it goes to court for custody of the children, it's waved in the judge's face saying he's got an anger management problem. Look at the course he's done. When many men didn't have an anger management problem, they went and done the course because they were told to. I had nowhere to go to tell my story, and I started to blog. A blog called Men Can Be Abused, or Through Hell and Back. And through writing my story, I started finding healing in a voice to be able to speak out. And others started reaching out to me, telling me their stories as well. And I soon realised that I'm not on my own. There's a hidden victims in our society of men being abused by women. There's no doubt about it that more men abuse women, but it's a very significant amount of men do get abused by their partners. And it's important for society to acknowledge that, because until we acknowledge that females also can be abusive to men and children, we're never going to fully protect our children from abuse.